Rationalization and justification. That's the topic for today. But before we begin, hit that like button and subscribe. If you're watching this on Instagram, check me out on YouTube and subscribe and follow, like, whatever you're supposed to do there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, check me out on Instagram at marksinspiration. Got a couple books on Amazon, Coming Back Home, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels, and The Power is Within, because that is where it's at. Also, coming up on December 3rd, we have Afi Kingdom, King Dre, or King Dreism, as he's known on Instagram, and AV Alpha Villains. We're going to have a great show that night. Going to chop it up, and going to be a lot of good gold nuggets about game that you guys are not going to want to miss. And for you girls, you get an insight on how men think about women, which will help you. So join us for that. What else? Check me out on TikTok at marksinspiration. And here we go, rationalization and justification. I know a lot of you guys want me to talk about women all the time, how to get women, what to do with women, how to play, how to be a better gamer, etc., etc. But without the basic foundation, the fundamentals, without you being the man you need to be, all that other stuff is a moot point. Yeah, you may get laid once or twice, and maybe that's what you think you want. That's all you want. But there's so much more than that. And the problem with that is, if you're doing that for selfish reasons, and you're actually manipulating girls just to get laid, that stuff will come back to haunt you. Now, if you're with a woman and she wants to be with you and you want to be with her, you guys are adults, and that's the deal. You're not telling her that you're looking for something more serious. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I want to blend this in with rationalization and justification, I know a lot of you guys might look at it like this. Well, I've been screwed over a few times, so I'm just going to screw them over. Yeah, that sounds good, but it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. It is. You just cannot do that. Now, as I've said before, the golden rule, at least in my opinion, as it is applicable to women, is treat women the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. Now, between men, we treat others and we treat men the way we want to be treated. But there's a difference. The way you want to be treated as a man and the way a woman wants to be treated as a woman is completely different. It's night and day. And if you've been burnt a few times and you've tried to be the nice guy, and I think we've all been down that road, or we've simped, you find out exactly what happens when you do that. It never works out too well. But you cannot justify bad behavior because you've been treated what you think is badly. It doesn't make any difference. You cannot escape the laws of the universe. You can escape the laws of the land, which I've done before in my life, by the grace of God. We all probably have. We've all speeded. We've all done things that were illegal. We've run through stop signs and gotten away with it. You can escape those laws, but you can't escape the laws of the universe. Whatever you put out there is going to come back to you multiplied. Maybe it's not really multiplied, but when it happens to you, it seems like it's multiplied. Both ways, for good and what you consider bad. If you hurt someone, if you're wise enough, the day will come when that will happen to you. And instead of blaming the other person, look within yourself and say, have I ever done something similar like this to someone else? And if you look hard and long enough, you will find out that you probably have. And then you can understand how that person must have felt. This helps you to grow in wisdom. And there's an old story or a parable in the Bible about an offer of wisdom or gold. Which would you choose? If I offered you wisdom, would you choose wisdom? Or if I offered you gold, would you take the gold? Most people would take the gold. Actually, I would have a hard time not taking the gold. But if you take the wisdom, then you can acquire as much gold as you desire for the rest of your life. Because with wisdom, you can learn how to get more gold. If you take the gold, you spend the gold, it's gone. And that's what most people do because they're not wise enough to take that gold and use it to acquire more gold. Likes attract. And if you're poor, more likely you're attracting poverty. There's another parable that I like. He who has will be given more, and he who has not, even what he has will be taken away. That's another law of the universe. And the reason that is because if you lack, more often than not, unless you've gained some wisdom, you're going to continue to think about lack. People who are broke don't think about money the same way people do that have money. People in lack think about, I can't afford this. How am I going to pay the rent? That car is too expensive. Inflation, the groceries are going up. Excuse me, etc., etc., etc. A person with money is thinking, how can I use this this inflation? How can I earn more money? How can I increase what I have? Because during inflations or depressions, a lot of people get rich and some people become poorer. How is that? You can take someone who's a millionaire or even a billionaire nowadays, and he can lose everything, but he's still a millionaire or a billionaire inside himself, so he can gain it all back in a short time. So if you have a poverty mentality, and I struggle with that because I grew up in a middle-class family, or maybe upper middle class, somewhere in there. And I heard things like, I can't afford that, or what do you think, money grows on trees, and all these things, which basically says there's lack, there's not enough, there's never going to be enough. All that money's going to burn a hole in your pocket, etc., etc. Well, you can't change what has happened to you as a kid, but you can change what's going on now. You have a choice now about how you can view things, how you can think about things. It's not easy to change your thinking, but as Wayne Dyer said, and many other greats throughout history have said, change your thinking, change your life. I think of a Marcus Aurelius quote, and let me see, I'll try to get this right. How is it? Your thoughts die. The color of your thoughts dye your life. It's not right. But basically what he says is your thinking directs your life choices, your thinking directs your actions. I'll have to write that down so I can quote that correctly. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. There are many sayings throughout the history of the world about how important your thinking is. And if you take this back to rationalization and justification, when you do something from a clear conscience, you don't have to rationalize it. You don't have to think about it. For example, let's say my neighbors around here, I have a circle drive around my house. It's kind of a private area, but people drive around here occasionally. They like to look at my statues, I suppose, or they just don't want to turn around and go back the other way. Excuse me. I'm doing a video. I'll be done in a minute. Lost my train of thought. That's how it is when you got 6 kids here. Okay, so they drive around my house. I've had one of the neighbor kids hit my light pole. Told me he was going to pay for it. Actually, the police came up here, and I let him off the hook because he said he'd pay for it. Well, he never paid for it, okay. Somebody else backed into a shelf I had out back by my hot tub. Busted the hell out of that, one of my neighbors. And nobody told me about that, okay. I have these giant columns with giant lions sitting on them to enter my place. And somebody running that and busted bricks off of it. Nobody told me about that. And I could mention a few other things. Okay. So now, let's say I accidentally hit one of the neighbor's car. One time I backed out of here and somebody parked right behind my driveway and I hit the car. Well, I hit the tire. Fortunately, it didn't leave a dent. But let's say I backed into the car and left a little scratch or a dent on it. My first impression is, shit, I got to tell this guy or girl, whoever it is. But I can start rationalize, well, damn it, they tear my stuff up and nobody tells me. What the hell? And this might be one of them that run into some of my stuff and didn't tell me. Now, see, you're rationalizing that and justifying it. If you got to do that to make something right inside of you, well, it will never be right inside of you. And that weighs on your conscience. You may not think about it, or maybe every time you do think about it, you say, well, shit, they're always tearing my stuff up, so what's it matter? When you have to do that you're not right with that. Maybe some people can do that. I remember when I was younger, My dad would tell me if I run into somebody, well, just keep going. Or, well, like in a parking lot, let's say you open your, here's one that most people won't do anything about. I do, not because I'm a great guy, but just because I don't want this stuff on my conscience. These small things are what blocks you off from the power that lies within you. You open your door. I had this happen. The wind caught the door and it hit the car next door. Ah, jeez. So I had to leave a note on the car and tell it. Just left a little tick in there, but yet it's wrong. How would I want someone to do me? I would want someone to tell me about that. I probably wouldn't get my car fixed unless it was my Lotus when I had that. But the car now, it's got a few dings and dents because the kids drive it. The point I'm making is if you have to justify it or rationalize it, don't do it. Because you block your power off. These things hinder your ability to achieve your desires. These things hinder your ability to change your thinking, from poverty thinking, from lack thinking, to abundance thinking, to rich thinking. In whatever area you want to move ahead in, it'll block you off from achieving your desires with the opposite sex. These things block you off. They hinder you. They don't hurt the other person, they hinder you. Because whatever you do to someone else, it's like doing it to yourself. You need to remember that anytime you catch yourself, and I still do it occasionally, I've still caught myself justifying something or rationalizing it. But the problem is I've been meditating and working on myself and reading and studying and doing all these things for years because I like it. The road gets narrower. If I do something like that, I can think of something I did a few months ago, and I had to judge, not a big thing, and that shit came back on me in about a week. I won't say what I did, but it wasn't a big deal. But in my mind, I had to say, well, I didn't hurt anybody, but it bothered me a little bit, and I had to justify it. So about a week or two later, it came back to me, and somebody did something to me. It didn't hurt me, but I thought, you know what? See, this was basically what I did to that person. But most people never get past the blame. Most people would look at that like, oh, this person did this to me. Damn, man, that's a ripoff. That's not very thoughtful, and it's pretty unkind. Okay, and it cost me a few $100s. All right, but you look back on it and you think, where did I do something similar to this where I didn't really hurt anybody? And actually, I felt like I was helping them out. And actually, this person that did that to me actually probably helped me out by not coming through on what they said they were going to do. But now, see, that's the way it works. Those things screw you up. But the longer you try to live right and do the right thing and think right about everybody and everything, the road does get narrower. It is the road less traveled. But all these things are good because they come back on you and you learn to think better and do better and to be better. It's all about thinking. You've heard the word righteousness, righteous, to be righteous. For me, my opinion of that is, what I take out of that is right thinking. Because as I've said before, it's none of my business what you think of me. It is my business what I think of you and what I think about myself. So if I'm thinking righteously, and I'm not saying this in any religious aspect, I'm thinking only the best about you and the best about myself and the best about others. And that helps me. And thus it helps you also. I'll tell you one more trick before I get off here, and some of you aren't going to believe this until you try it and experience it. Think about a person that you don't like very much, someone you have to deal with on a regular basis. If you take and start finding the good in that, just find something, I know it's hard, find something good in that person, something you can think about that's good, and focus on that and ignore the best you can the parts that you think is bad. You watch, in a period of time, that person will either change and become better to you, or they will disappear out of your life without you having to do anything. Now, this is not easy, but I've done it many times. And there's other times but I didn't do it. I just couldn't seem to get off the negativity I felt about the person. So try that sometime, but you have to be consistent. It may take weeks, it may take months. It requires a lot of effort, But that's where the willpower comes in. You need to use the strength of your will to focus on what you desire. And of course, you desire this person to be better to you. Maybe it's your boss, a workmate. So you want to get along with them. So think about that person in a good light. Think about that person righteously, right-minded. Think about the good that's in that person. If nothing else, they show up for work every day if you work with them. If nothing else, they're very persistent about annoying you. Try to see the good in everything and everybody and neglect or negate what you feel is bad about these people. Those people are your best teachers. They are opportunities for you to grow and to become the person you came here to be. That's all I got for today. Take care. Thanks for joining me. And for you, YouTube, thank you for my 1,628 subscribers. We are growing fast. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.